UCL Matchday 5 predictions. A massive match day, as after this match day, we'll probably know some teams that have progressed to the round of 16. Are Barcelona bound for the Europa League? Big game between Dortmund and Man City, where Haaland returns to Dortmund. And of course, Dinamo Zagreb against Milan, a big game in Group E. Let me know your predictions in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. The like count is 50, because 5, match day 5, and let's just times it by 10, because why not? Let's get to the predictions. So we will start off between Sevilla and FC Copenhagen, which is also a big game, because whoever wins this game will go to the Europa League most likely. Or actually it is. Whoever wins it will go to the Europa League. Now, obviously, Sevilla have been playing a little bit better now under Jorge Sampaoli. Defensively, still leaking goals, and offensively, not really the Sampaoli ball that we do know, where it's just all-out attack. It's just Argentinian rock and roll football. And for FC Copenhagen, they have been struggling all season. Even, they're in the bottom half of the Danish league. FC Copenhagen, do you know how ridiculous that is? So, this is a tough game to call. Obviously, FC Copenhagen haven't scored a single goal yet in the Champions League. I see a Sevilla win here, and I'm going to go 2-0 for Sevilla. I think they'll get the goals here, and FC Copenhagen, I think they just got to focus on the league. I think that's going to be their main objective this season. The next match is RB Salzburg taking on Chelsea. Obviously, the return fixture was a 1-1 draw between the two sides. It was Graham Potter's first game, and obviously, Chelsea over the weekend drew with Manchester United in a game where they weren't the greatest, and I think the midfield play, I think it shows how vital Kovacic is. If Kovacic is starting and playing, the midfield works better. If he doesn't, there's not balance enough. And we're going to see if Graham Potter then rotates, of course, because he's been rotating a lot. And then for RB Salzburg, obviously, they're going to be dominating the Austrian Bundesliga, and they got clinical players. So this is a game that Chelsea cannot take lightly. If RB Salzburg do defeat Chelsea, that final match day is going to be insane for this group. Now, Chelsea have been better defensively. They haven't really been tested because Milan were just terrible. And then obviously tomorrow you're getting the red card. So I could see RB Salzburg giving a tough match. And I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1 for Chelsea. It's going to be a tight game, but I feel like Chelsea can get the win. The next game will be Benfica taking on Juventus. So obviously the game in Turin was a 2-1 win for Benfica. I knew it would happen because Benfica are still undefeated this season. They have been on absolute roll. Roger Smith's side. They obviously went to Porto 1-1-0 in a game that was very tough. And obviously Porto getting the early red card in the game. But Juventus have looked a little bit better. And they look like they're starting to find their groove a little bit more defensive and just being very clinical on the counterattack. And obviously no Di Maria in this game. I still fancy Benfica winning this matchup. It's going to take a tall order for Juventus to win. But we know they have the players who are able to hurt Benfica, but Benfica are just on a roll. They have the confidence, and Juve, I think it's just bound for Europa League, which would be crazy. But I think it's going to happen, and I'm going to go for the same result. I'm going to go 2-1 for Benfica. I feel like Gonzalo Ramos will get a goal, and obviously Neres is back now from injury. Next game, it is PSG taking on Maccabi Haifa. The return fixture was obviously a 3-1 win for PSG, even though Maccabi Haifa took the lead in the game. And Maccabi Haifa have been no slouches in this competition. And I said that when I was doing my predictions for the group stage. This team are actually very impressive. Now, they are still decent away from home. They did give a tough game to Juventus. Now, it's going to be a total different story going to Paris. And obviously PSG, Messi's back, of course. He's looking good. Neymar, Mbappe. So, I mean, let's see how much Galtier will rotate in this game. I'm going to go for a routine 2-0 win. I don't think it's going to be obliteration or anything like that. Maccabi Haifa will be very competitive. All they need is a point. But I feel like they'll get that point against Benfica at home and qualify to the Europa League, which would be an amazing achievement. So 2-0 for PSG. Next up, Dortmund against Manchester City. Obviously, Erling Haaland returns to Dortmund. But obviously, the game in Manchester was a 2-0 win for Man City. Obviously, Erling Haaland scoring a ridiculous volley goal. An insane volley. And Dortmund have been looking better in the last couple of games. Obviously, just still defensively at times. This team are just so open and just so whack. I don't know how to explain it better with Dortmund. It just goes 0 to 100 real quick. You guys might know the line. But Jude Bellingham has been playing really amazing last couple weeks. He has elevated his play. That price tag is just getting higher and higher and higher. And Dortmund are just like, bring us the cash. And You see with Moukoko, Adeyemi now back in the squad. Giovanni Reina getting a goal over the weekend. Happy for Giovanni Reina, man. The guy is a baller, but just been plagued by injuries. And for Man City, defensively haven't looked the strongest, but we know that midfield and attack will score goals. And score goals, and score goals. Now, I feel like Dortmund will be a little bit more open and not be so defensive against Man City like they were in Manchester. So, I'm going to go for a high-scoring game here. I'm going to go for Manchester City 4-2. I think it's going to be a 4-2 game, and look, even it's actually popular scoreline because I feel like Dortmund have to win this game. If they win this game, they could possibly finish top of the group, which would be also an amazing achievement, but I'm going to go 4-2 for Manchester City. The next matchup, it is RB Leipzig taking on Real Madrid, and obviously RB Leipzig having an incredible comeback over the weekend, 3-0 down. They brought it back to 3-3, and then for Real, they just keep on rolling. Rolling. What? Hala Madrid. They are insane. Yes, maybe at times they don't dominate the full match, but just like that, they show their quality, they show their experience, and they can just punish teams. Now, RB Leipzig have been defensively still just a mess. And you're going up against Real Madrid. Real have to be a bit more worried about with this game. I don't think Timo Werner is going to play, so that could be an added boost. Obviously, Andres Silva will start. Obviously, you got to deal with Nkunku and these sort of guys. And I think Real can deal with it. They might rotate a little bit in this game, but I still see a comfortable win. I'm going to go again, 3-1 for Real Madrid. We move on with Celtic against Shaktar Donetsk. Obviously, the return fixture was a 1-1 draw, and Celtic they've been competitive, but I'm a little bit disappointed. I was expecting a bit better from them in this Champions League group stage, but it just shows the quality of the Scottish League compared to then the Champions League. But Shaktar have also been one hell of a story. Let's just think about it, people. They have lost so many players over the summer, but yet they are competitive in this group and could possibly finish second. So it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be the last game, Champions League group stage game at Celtic Park until probably next season, because maybe we'll win the Scottish League. And I feel like the atmosphere will be really good. That will galvanize Celtic Park, and I feel like Celtic can win this game. I know Shakhtar have been very, very good, and I mean the Shakhtar goalkeeper had an insane game at the Santiago Bernabeu a couple of games ago. So Shakhtar showed that they have quality. I'm going to go with the Celtic win here, just because it's at Celtic Park. 2-1 for Celtic, in my opinion. Now, it is Dinamo Zagreb against Milan. Now, I know it was a 3-1 win for Milan at the San Siro against Dinamo Zagreb, but Zagreb have shown when they're at home, it's a whole different ballgame. Obviously, they drew 1-1 over the weekend with their rivals Hajduk Split, and Milan, of course, had a comfortable 4-1 win over Monza. Brahim Diaz, of course, getting 2 goals in that game. So, I feel like though Dinamo Zagreb can get something in this game. I know, Magnan is not there and these sort of guys. Charles de Ketelaere's got to step up his performances if he does start because, he is the big money signing. And I said when the signing was made that it is a very much a long-term signing, but you want to see a little bit of impact. And you haven't seen that yet. So he's got to start performing, obviously with all the injuries still, but this is a tough game to call. I could see it going either way just because Zagreb are at home. And if Zagreb want to have any chance of finishing third or even second, they have to win this game because their last game is at Stamford Bridge and that's going to be a very tall order to go past. So, you know what? I'm going to go with the 1-1. I feel like it's going to be a 1-1 game. I know Milan showed a bit more desire in the Monza game. Just injuries. There's so many injuries, but Dinamo Zagreb are tough team at home. So 1-1 is my prediction. And then the other Milan team, Inter Milan, have a glorious chance. If they bottle this against Viktoria Plzeň, I am sorry. This cannot happen again. So I don't need to go any further. Viktoria Plzeň have been woeful, terrible, Europa League level. Sorry to any Viktoria Plzeň fans there, but it's been a good experience. You see all these top teams in your city, but it should be a routine win. So I'm going to go 2-0 for Inter. Martinez. Oh, not 2-1. 2-0. Whoa. There we go. 2-0. 2-0 win for Inter. And Martinez is now balling out. He's cooking for that World Cup. He's cooking. So 2-0 for Inter. And who would have thought of this before the Champions League group stage? First versus second in Bruges. Club Bruges against FC Porto. And if Club Bruges win this game, they will top the group. They will top it. an incredible achievement for Huijskens' side. Huijskens, who this is his first season as a professional manager. Obviously, he's been doing, with the under-23s or assistant, but this is his first season as Club Brugge's manager. And look at the job he's doing with guys like Jutgla, Tejan Buchanan now who's back. You got Skov Olsen, you got Kasper Nielsen. And then, of course, Simon Mignolet hasn't conceded a goal yet. Simon Mignolet. And then for Porto, it's been a bit of a topsy-turvy sort of group. Obviously, a good win at Bayer Leverkusen, a vital win. Taremi with a couple of goals. So, Porto are a tough team. And we know that with Conceição's side. This is also a tough one to call. Could I see a 1-1? Could I see a 1-0 win for Club Brugge? They got the momentum. It hasn't been that good in the Belgian league. Porto, coming off the loss against Benfica, they need to bounce. They need to get the win here, though, Porto, because the last game is against Atletico. You don't want to go into the last game needing a result against Atletico. Let me just say that. So, I'm going to go 1-0 Club Brugge. I'm going to go 1-0 Club Brugge. The fairy tale will continue. The fairy tale will continue, and they will top this group, which is insane. Next game, it is Eintracht Frankfurt taking on Marseille, and hopefully, let's just hope that the crowd is just okay. Let's just make sure about that, because obviously we saw the horrific scenes in Marseille. Marseille dipping a little bit in form, not Igor Tudor, obviously hitting a little bit of a losing patch with his career now with Marseille. Eintracht Frankfurt now on a roll. They're starting to go up the table in the Bundesliga. The play is better. You look at Lindstrom in the midfield, having a good season. Frankfurt, if they can win this game, they're going to give themselves a great opportunity in the last game to finish either first or second. So I'm going to go with the Eintracht Frankfurt win. I know they haven't been that good at home in the Champions League. I feel like this is the game where they can turn it around. And Marseille have been kind of lucky in the last two games in the Champions League, obviously with Sporting getting the 2 red cards. So I'm going to go with the Eintracht Frankfurt win here. I'm going to go 2-1 for Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, big game in North London. Tottenham Hotspur taking on Sporting Clube de Portugal. And Spurs, I just finished watching the game, was terrible. Just dreadful against Newcastle. Actually not dreadful. They actually played good in spells, and then Lloris making 2 mistakes, but just something with the attack. When there's no Richarlison or Kulusevski, there's not a third attacker there. The play isn't that great, and the midfield just doesn't create enough. So Spurs got to be careful, because Sporting, we saw, when they're on the counterattack against Spurs, they can be deadly. Now, how will this game go? Will Conte be a bit more worried about what Sporting can provide and be a bit more defensive and then hit them on the counterattack? We could see something like that. I wouldn't be shocked about it. And Ruben Amorim he's got to tell his players, don't get a red card. How about that? Don't get a red card in the first half, and so we can actually be competitive in the game. Because Sporting have basically thrown away these last 2 games because of their own stupidity. I'm sorry to any of the Sporting fans, but that's what's happened. So, this is a tough game to call. I could feel like Conte, he needs to respond. It's been now 2 losses back-to-back. Sporting obviously coming with a victory over the weekend. This might be the toughest one to call. I know, because Sporting they've been good in the Champions League away in the last couple of seasons, but you know what? I'm gonna go 1-1. I feel like this is gonna be a sort of game where Sporting take the lead, and then Harry Kane gets a late penalty last 20 minutes, and then maybe Spurs will be going for the win, and then Sporting hold on. I'm gonna go 1-1. Barcelona taking on Bayern Munich. Barcelona, obviously, they will be playing their game soon against Athletic Bilbao, but the performance against Villarreal, much better. And that's what I think Barcelona fans have been crying out for, and that's what I said after the last couple of games. Frankie de Jong needs to start. There needs to be a new front 3, because Rafinha and Dembele weren't just working out, and it looked a lot better. I think Frankie de Jong at the 6 is a better option, and especially in this game, because we know what Bayern Munich are like in the midfield. And with Musiala and these sort of guys, Bayern now on a roll in the Bundesliga. I think they're starting to find their groove. Choupo-Moting, people have been criticizing Bayern. You need a striker. You got one. Eric Choupo-Moting. He's been on fire. You can't deny it. He's actually been on fire. Obviously, Lewandowski. Look, this game could mean something if Inter do drop points. I don't think it's going to happen. But Barcelona should be playing for pride and at least show that they have the quality to match Bayern Munich for the next couple of seasons, because it is an embarrassment. But if they can get a win over Bayern, who have been their Achilles heel in the last couple of campaigns of the Champions League, I feel like Barcelona, you know what? I would say this is going to be a high-scoring draw. I feel like it's just going to be a very open game. back and forth, something similar to what it was in Munich. So I'm going to go 2-2. I just feel like Barcelona will be more clinical this time around and should be an entertaining game. That's at least what we want as neutrals. Now, a big game at the Wanda Metropolitano, because it is Atletico de Madrid going up against Bayer Leverkusen. Atletico obviously coming off the victory over Real Betis. And Bayer Leverkusen draw with Wolfsburg, but still just defensively, man, they just not good enough. It just isn't good enough. And sometimes they're just not clinical enough. So that's what I fear for Bayer Leverkusen in this game. Obviously, they did defeat Atletico de Madrid 2-0 in this group already. Whoever wins this game is going to give themselves a great chance of finishing second. So this is one of the biggest games of Matchday 5 in the Champions League. And I could see... there's always this case with Atletico. They don't look great in the Champions League group stage, but then somehow they just turn it around and they just start picking up points. And I could see that happening in these last two games where it's going to go down to that game in Porto, just like last season, and Atletico will advance. I could just see something like that, even though they haven't been the greatest, and João Felix is just rotting on the bench. But Griezmann has been putting up some good performances recently, so ever since it was made permanent, he's looking good. I'm going to go with a 1-0 victory. I'm just going to go with the 1-0 victory, not 1-9. Oh, not 1-9. 1-0 for Atletico de Madrid. Big game in Amsterdam. Ajax taking on Liverpool. Obviously, the reverse fixture was a 2-1 win for Liverpool. And I think Ajax now, Alfred Studer, who was a little bit under pressure, better performances against two weaker sides in the Eredivisie. They have, what did they score? 11 goals and conceded 2 in the last 2 games in the Eredivisie after being slapped by Napoli. So the performances have been better. I think Brian Brobby at the striker is a better option for Ajax. I think it is. Now you gotta somehow include Kudus either at the 10 role, maybe play him out wide, something like that. Will we see Daley Blind at the center back role and Bassi at the left back role, similar to what it was in Naples? We could see something like that, and Ajax have been performing better. And then Liverpool just coming off a dreadful performance. Let's see if Darwin or Thiago starts. If they don't, I don't really see where the goals are going to come from for Liverpool. Otherwise, on the counter-attack, and we could see Henderson starting. Probably Trent will be starting at right back. So I feel like Ajax are going to come into this game with a bit more confidence and something to prove, because that performance in Anfield wasn't an Ajax performance. It was just too safe, and they will not allow that at home. I'm not going to lie. I could see Ajax win here. And this is coming from a Liverpool fan. Just Liverpool away from home, other than the Rangers game, have been dreadful. Just absolutely dreadful. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Ajax. And just based on the fact that Liverpool just haven't been good away from home. 2-1 for Ajax. And the last game, it is Napoli taking on Rangers. Rangers, who have been one of the worst sides in the Champions League, been disappointing by their performances. I just think defensively, they just haven't been strong enough. Yes, they have been good going forward at times, but just defensively, just an absolute mess. Just conceding way too easy goals. You're going to Napoli. Good luck with that, with the way this team are playing, with the way they can rotate with players. We could see Raspadori, Politano starting in this game, and they will still look very, very dangerous. I'm going to go with the routine win. I'm going to go 3-1 for Napoli. So there you have it, people. Match day 5 of the Champions League. It's crunch time. Who will qualify to the round of 16? Who will drop down to the Europa League? Who will not even get any more European football? Let me know in the comment section down below. Remember to give your predictions there as well. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I will see you next time on the next video. Have a beautiful day. Stay safe in this crazy world. And adios.